So where are we, Liam?
Where are we? Shit, I can't pronounce it. Greenland is about as close as I can tell.
But where are we now?
Spooky abandoned disco. We're showing around it, are we?
We're just going to have a look around. There's the disco booth with some very good CDs still in it, I have to say. So I've never actually sorted out kayaks in an old disco before.
First, isn't it? No beer left, that's for sure.
And all the gear's arrived, so we are chumming about.
Yeah, so I was pretty doubtful about getting all the equipment in the boats. There was a lot of stuff, a hell of a lot of stuff, and you know, you'd kind of sit in the boat and you'd have stuff all under your feet, you'd have stuff all on your lap, like piles of stuff all in between your legs. I think the way I was sat in the boat with a pile of kit wedging my legs out either side, so escape would have been tricky, I reckon. Should have capsized. And as for once we got them on the water, they had I didn't think they had a lot of manoeuvrability skills. They were fairly awkward. They weren't super tippy, they felt quite well weighted in the bottom, but they were just very heavy, like real pigs. Didn't want to turn, didn't want to do much. They could go in a straight line, but even that took a little bit of effort just to get them moving. But yeah, it's a surprise to get all the kit in there.
Never had a boat so ungamely and unsporty as this one.
I still think that when you get out into these big remote Arctic regions, that especially in the kayaks, you pretty much, you load your boat, you get into it and you're off. Everybody will decide on their own level of backup, whether it be a sat phone, but we didn't have a sat phone, and we had a VHF, but not much traffic. So you do feel that you're doing a journey and you're sort of seeing anybody. So I still think that Greenland's a massive continent with a very small population, so it's still proper Wild West wilderness out there. Boat's a little bit lighter. We dumped 3 bags, stashed 3 bags, so we're going to start to do some bag stashes on the way, just sort of relieving the weight on the boat, and we're going to come back this way. So it's the first time I've done that, so we'll
It was crazy to see. I didn't even think about there being I think the first iceberg I saw, I paddled right up to it and was like poking it and pushing it and touching it, and then Ollie was like, yeah, you probably want to keep your distance away from them in case a bit breaks off or rolls over or squashes you. So that was a little bit of an education there. But yeah, it's just mental to see them, and like you'd have your camp at night, or you'd set your camp up and you just watch these huge icebergs, like I don't know how big the biggest one was, maybe like 6 stories, and you'd watch it just go on the tide and just float past the camp, going at quite a speed actually. Really impressed. And then you'd maybe wake up in the morning and you'd see it coming back the other way or something. It was just nuts to see these things moving around so quickly.
So here we are, summit. How high is it? 900. So we've been on the go for about 3.5 hours. We've got one more summit to go. Good ridge, amazing scenery, all the mountains in the distance, and we've got one more peak and then a descent. Hey Liam, stay there.
Come round this headland in a lot of fog. sea swell, we've landed on this place. Find that it's a very important settlement. The Norsemen settled here in 985, and there's ruins of a church, big meeting hall here, and they also colonised some stuff further around. There's an actual harbour. So it's amazing. We just, it's just lying here, all the ruins around, and we just land on a beach. A ruin that's been lived here 1500 years ago.
Have a look at that. Scroll, camera, fire, fireplace, pot. So I'll point out a few of the unique systems. You'll notice the hanging wand for removing the pot from the fire and getting the beverages. You'll notice the griddle up here, which you can hang the hanger on, or whatever, socks or something. Fire in the bottom, metal plate in the back to reflect the heat, boost a bit more out, and the adjustable frame which you can lever up and down with rocks to make it all sit nice and steady. I don't know how long this took. It might have been minutes, could have been hours. It was a work of passion. Anyway, got to sit down now in front of the fire and
Dry yourself out.
yeah, dry myself out, drink what's left of that whiskey, watch the icebergs cruise past.
We landed here and we've come across some ruins of old buildings, and we decided to have a look around, and there's some buildings at different levels of disrepair, but the striking thing was this cross on the hill. So we came up to have a look, and there's some remains of old fence posts, but round the cross, surrounding this cross, is basically skeletons. It's roughly buried groups of boulders here, 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 one over here, one down there. So there's 5 or 6 very rough graves. Obviously the ground's too hard to dig, so they've just basically put the body in and chucked the stones on. So the cross must mark the community that lived here, which is quite interesting. It's a sad reflection of a very lonely place, and the bodies are just underneath. So we were quite shocked really when we came up. I found these sort of things before, but never so many in a very, very small area. So anyway, we're sleeping down there, so we hope the spirits are with
Well, it had to be the whales for me, I suppose. I've had encounters with narwhal and orca and minke whale, but which we thought these whales we came across were. But yeah, they were amazing, really. I mean, they announce their presence with the big noise, and then you're up looking around, and then they seem not to have an awareness of where you are. So whereas all the other encounters I've had, they know you're there. This thing just seems to keep coming at you. And and there's been incidents where they've knocked people out of boats, so you're always sort of trying to work out, are they coming at you, which way they're going to go, because you think they're just on autopilot really. But amazing creatures.
Dead ahead, right there. There she blows!
Shit!
Should I move, Ollie, or should I see what he does? Should he jump over me?
Fucking, I'm not sure, mate.
Is he going to be like Free Willy? Except he batters me. It's like Jaws, man. I'm nervous, he is.
I'll say the day when one was going straight towards Ollie as well, that was pretty funny. Just charging right at him, we weren't quite sure whether it was going to dive or dodge or anything like that. But yeah, that was real close. That was probably about 5 meters, something like that.
So, day 5 I think. We just done a good morning, no wind. Liam's just over there. We've got another fire headland to go to. Might try and pump out some mileage for, we want to get to Cape Farewell before the weather changes, so it's a big ocean swell here. He's put his midget on, don't know why he's doing that. So good morning, Liam. A few miles.
Good morning.
A few miles done. How far
This
we
was
done?
a little bit tangy, wasn't it, this morning?
Yeah, that's it. There we go. That's it. How many K this morning?
I don't know, it was 10, wasn't it? Was
At
it
least
more?
no, it's about 15 I think.
15. I'm not really keeping track.
But yeah, it's calm as, isn't it? Not a breath of wind.
There's some good chop over there, isn't there?
Yeah, look at that.
Nice to have a change of scenery as well.
Yeah, amazing scenery that.
How are you today anyway, Owen?
Should be good. Amazing scenery around here. Rock scenery. So again, we're just deciding. We want to try and get to Cape Farewell while the weather stays good. So that's sort of the crux of the trip because it's quite exposed along this coast, and if it kicks off, it can be makes them get fairly fruity. There's quite a lot of tide actually going through all the gaps. Just working out how it all works in terms of ebb and flood, but we're getting a handle on that.
So what do you reckon? Sea Kayak Man? That'd be the title?
So Liam, you got a theory, Liam, about being a...
Yeah, about being a sea kayaking superhero. You know, living life out on the sea, being wherever danger is, wherever people need him, which isn't very frequently around Greenland, I'd imagine. Haven't seen a lot of other sea kayakers.
So did you put the midge net on to mask your identity?
Yeah, it's to stop people knowing who I am.
So when you paddle past, they've no idea. You have to flip the mask on when you hear a mayday.
That's it. And then after the incident or rescue or whatever, you pop it off. And again, it's like Clark Kent, isn't it? I've turned from Superman to Clark Kent. Now I can go about my normal sea kayaking daily life.
But you've got your mask handy in case.
Yeah,
So is it like putting your underpants on, like you're on the outside of your trousers? You don't need a phone booth to get changed into your sea kayaking superhero gear.
well, you don't have that luxury, do you? All you've got is your deck bag.
So you'd have to jump into your deck bag to get changed.
You just have to look the other way and do it all.
Cool.
Just pop it on over your head.
So-
And my physical powers would be... that was just a squirt of water, wasn't it?
Yeah.
The ability to sit in a sea kayak for extended periods of time and paddle without ever tiring. And
So this is the view, Cape Christensen. Nothing to a sort of force 5, top 5, maybe definitely 6, very quickly, so we're very exposed out there. Quite exciting, so we've come in here. Difficult landing as well now on the Pebble Beach. We had no option really. We're going to have to sit it out. We've still got Cape Farewell in the mist there to try and get round. But it will depend on what's happened. I'm sure it should die down, but we just got caught out basically. We're supposed to be a good forecast, and it's obviously kicked off around there. So we're camping here tonight. Well, like I said, the sea paddling this time was on a very exposed coast. With all the previous trips I've had, most of it has been in and out of fjords with the occasional bit of exposed coast. But our big, one of the big challenges for us was to get around Cape Farewell, which involved us being exposed to the swell and the wind for quite a considerable period of time in a couple of days. So the crux of it all, we were properly caught out. So we were caught out at Cape Christian. And had to sort of basically have a sort of quick turnaround in some really windy, getting
really windy conditions and sort of have a awkward landing on a pebble beach, and then luckily, we managed to sit it out. But it was a good decision because actually it got worse and worse. So if we carried on, I think we'd have been in real trouble. So we sat it out, and so getting around Cape Farewell, was always one of those ones touch and go. Is it going to get worse? Is it going to get better? We didn't really know because we didn't have an access to any decent forecast. So it was a little bit of a step into the unknown, really, which added a bit of spice to it. And as we got round Cape Farewell, it did start to kick off again. So it was great, really, getting off that coast and getting back into the fjords.
We're just coming up on Cape Farewell now, just up that hill over there. We just cracked the camera out just now. Iceberg just in front of us, just had a massive piece just fall off, boom into the sea. We figured, we'll crack that camera out, maybe the iceberg will roll over. Maybe in a minute it will.
It's looking good.
Perfect weather after yesterday.
Cape Farewell. We're around it so far.
Maybe the day when it was real choppy as well. That was a little bit nerve-wracking. I think Ollie tried to sneak in for a pee as well that day, and he got hit by like a big set in a little bay. That was a bit like, do you race in after? Luckily he sort of sorted himself out and got back out again. But there's always a little bit of a worry. Do you go in and try and help him out and get tumbled out as well, or is it best just to wait? So I waited a bit, saw what happened, and he was fine.
Just done a spectacular landing on here. Very good. It's out. We've been on the walk for 4 hours, and because we couldn't really get out, we've gone around the last big headland, and then we've got one more headland to go, and we're pretty much in the safety of the fjord. So we've cracked it, which is great. Probably another couple of hours paddling will be sorted for the day, and good effort really. Wind's picked up, sea state's still pretty big swell, so almost got caved in by a big boomer up there, so wasn't paying attention. Anyway, it's good to get out of the boat after 4 hours, having some brew, and our man's on the case. Alright Liam?
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Alright, it's not clicking.
Good effort. Good effort.
Day 10 of the trip now, so we're making our way back towards Nanortalik. We've been around Cape Farewell, which is great, and we've done a few climbs, and we just got hit on the way back today. We thought we'd get some real shelter in the fjords, but obviously the wind funnels. Should have known that, and we got sort of caught out a little bit with about a force 4, maybe 5 blowing. We had our dry suits on, but we hadn't done them up because when we left camp, or when we left lunch spot this morning, it was fairly warm. Anyway, we've been battling really into a headwind all day, so but everything else is going pretty good. Food sort of lasting, most of the kit's working really well, and we've got about 9 days food left in the boats, but we stashed some food at various locations on the. We've got a path.
I don't know what I was thinking this time. We didn't take a gun because everybody said it's so far south that there are no polar bears, or polar bears aren't a problem. So I heard that from a lot of people, including the guy at Nanortalik, Niels. So I sort of went with the flow, and then of course halfway through the trip we ended up landing in a village, actually the only place we stopped, and we got invited in for food, and part of the food was polar bear. And the woman who was feeding us said the bear had been shot in the village 2 weeks previously. So error, and so after that, it was like, I think for the first 2 days I was like, you know, quite worried, and then it was like, well, it's in the fate of the gods now. We haven't got one, so there's not much we can do about it. So let's just forget about it and get on with it.
So the reason we're behind this boulder today is the wind out here. It was flat calm this morning. You could see like mirror images of the hills on the water. It was amazing. We also have this water feature up behind me here in the ceiling. So last night when it rains, you have to pull the sofa forwards, otherwise you get rained on. In the other room, we chucked all the equipment, and then Ollie slept upstairs in the attic last night. Very dark, very quiet.
And it's snowing.
And we think it's been snowing as well. Like Ollie's just been out, had a look at the hills. I haven't quite made it out that far yet today. I'll probably, no doubt, venture over in a minute. But yes, snow. Where there's been
the joys of expeditioning, the long term, the long game. So we've had a good day yesterday climbing, and then it started to rain this morning. It's been raining all day, so we've been stuck in our tent, eating, drinking tea, occasionally going out to empty our bladders from all the tea we drank, and we're obviously lucky we've got our Kindles to keep us amused. We might play cards, but basically we've been stuck in this tent for the entire day. It's now 5 o'clock in the evening, and there's no sign of it actually clearing. So with most of these weather systems it should blow through, so we're just having to wait probably till tomorrow before we get out of here. And we're in our little tent. It's holding up to all the weather it's throwing at us. Joy.
Okay, so I don't know what this is, day 17 or 18, I can't remember, but anyway. We've landed on this beach, and we've got a crag behind us we're going to try and climb tomorrow. We've had 2 poor days weather, and we've landed here and it's got loads of firewood, got a water supply, and it's an absolutely lovely spot. So we're hoping the wind doesn't pick up, but the weather seems to be clearing. Definitely not as cold. There was snow on the hills the other day, so that's still up there, but it's definitely not as cold tonight as it has been the last few days. So we're having a break from paddling. We're going to go and try and do some cragging. We might spend a couple of days here. We're just going to see what the weather does. It will all depend on the weather. We can't get a forecast here. We haven't got any form of communication, so we've got to basically just hope after that bad weather it's normally going to clear and be good for a few more days. So nice place after being stuck in the cabin. Good.
Well, I don't know the name of the peak. I don't know what we're going to call the climb. But yeah, we're still in Greenland. We're on the side of a fjord. We've done the route we were looking at yesterday. We woke up a bit late. It was cloudy and wet and horrible, so we left it for a bit, and then at about 10 o'clock we got on with it, got out, walked up through the mist, up through the inversion, and then pretty much all day we've just been climbing higher and higher and higher. And now we're on the top of the ridge for this particular bit of the climb, and we're just working out how to get down. It's a mystery. We'll have to continue this episode later.
Like the morning before we got on the route, you don't know what to expect. You're not sure what grade it's going to be, but once you're on it, it all kind of fell into place. And if you get to a hard bit, or a bit that's too difficult, go left a bit, or right a bit, or you come down and you move around it, or you work around it. So yeah, once you get on with it, I found it alright.
So 21 days, 3 weeks out, we're just coming into the village. We got going this morning early because we were worried that the wind was going to pick up. It seems to follow a pattern. As soon as it gets a bit warmer, we start to get a breeze and we didn't want to get caught out. So it's about 10:30, so we're heading into civilization, get a nice shower. We've got 2 or 3 days here to sort all the gear out, but like I said, there's a storm coming in.